English Literature, Introduction to Poetry. Fernhill, Dylan Thomas. Short questions with answers. Question 1. Write a short note on the pastoral idyll present in Fernhill. Answer. The form delineated in Fernhill is a pastoral idyll. Its tranquility, simple beauty, and innocent charm are alive in the poem. It is the Garden of Eden for the child who is yet not crippled by the burden of life. Its idyllic scene is vivid. There are apple trees and green grass all around it. There are hills, rivers, and streams in which very clean water flows over pebbles, producing the sounds that seem like the holy songs of the Sabbath. The house in the farm resonates with musical tunes created by natural wind. There are barns, house, high hay ricks, and stables. Owls, nightjars, and pheasants play and live here. Here, calves sing and foxes bark. Huntsmen and herdsmen do their daily chores. Here, every morning is so fresh that it appears to be the first dawn of creation. At night, this woody valley is lit by moon and stars. The landscape of the farm becomes spellbound. When the speaker was a child, he saw and enjoyed its beauty and heavenly charm. Question 2. Explain the religious undertone of Fernhill. Answer. The speaker's carefree ecstasy that he enjoyed on Fernhill only comparable to the innocent joys that Adam and Eve must have experienced in the Garden of Eden. In fact, Dylan Thomas carefully associated the child's joy on Fernhill with that of Adam and Eve in Eden. He selected those symbols which have religious connotation. For example, Sabbath rang slowly in the pebbles of the holy streams gives us an impression that the farm and its sounds bore a sacred meaning to the child. In line 30, when the speaker says it was Adam and Maiden, the religious undertone becomes obvious. For him, being young on the farm was like being in the Garden of Eden. Again, the religious undertone is evident in line 33. So it must have been after the birth of the simple light. The speaker is talking here about the first light after God's command. Let there be light. This is the command. The analogy between a morning at Fernhill and the first dawn of creation certainly attaches religious touch to the poem. Similarly, grace and lamp white are biblical references to the God's kindness and innocence of Jesus Christ. So the religious undertone runs throughout the poem. Question 3. Comment on the structure of Fernhill. Answer. Dylan Thomas does not follow any conventional poetic form in Fernhill. The poem consists of 6 stanzas. Each stanza consists of 9 unequal lines. Each of the lines 1, 2, 6, and 7 has 14 syllables. Lines 3, 5, and 9 have 9 syllables each. Line 8 has 7 syllables and line 4 has 6 syllables. In all 6 stanzas, this pattern of syllabic count is strictly maintained. This apparently particular stanza pattern matches well with the image of fleeting time, time being personified. Time flies in this poem like a bird. The stanza pattern of the poem seems to be an image of a flying bird without head and neck. If we add a head with a neck in front of a stanza, it becomes a flying bird, suggesting the fleeting time. Another aspect of the structure of this poem is that it does not have end rhyme, but there are abundant uses of alliteration and assonance in almost all lines. The repetition of consonant and vowel sounds provide internal rhymes matching the continuous flow of the child's joy. Thomas has used this structure in this poem, befitting the rhythm and voice of the speaker's strong emotions. Question 4. What does the color green signify in Fernhill? Answer. One of the colors recurrently used in this poem is green. It is entwined with the theme of childhood. In fact, Dylan Thomas repeats green so many times that it assumes symbolic significance. The speaker says in line 2, he was happy as the grass was green. He means he was happy. In line 10, he says, I was green and carefree, suggesting that he was young and happy. In line 15, he says he was green and golden, emphasizing the same significance of green. Then in line 22, he says fire green as grass. The green part of fire that he compares with the green color of grass indicates intense ecstasy. This may also be taken to suggest another meaning. In his childhood, the speaker looks back. He finds that his childhood happiness was as transient as the grass that would burn in fire. In line 44, he says that the green and golden children follow time out of grace. Here, green means happy, though a change in the tone is obvious. A complete change in meaning comes in line 53, where he says, time held me green and dying. He is not happy here. Green suggests here the color of a dying man. Thus, the meaning of green in Fernhill are closely associated with the main theme of the poem. Question 5. What role does time play in Fernhill? Answer. Time's presence in Fernhill is unmistakable. Dylan Thomas uses it as a living being who bestowed upon the speaker all sources of pleasures during his childhood. Time let him hail and climb. It held him golden in the heydays of its eyes. It allowed him to be treated as a prince of the apple town. Again, the time allowed to the speaker play and be happy in the mercy of his means. It allowed him the pleasures of climbing up the hills, running down along the rivers, and listening to music of the streams. Further, time brought all its tuneful morning songs for his joy. However, time does not continue his gifts for long. It led the children out of his grace. In his lamp white days, the speaker cared nothing about time's design. He was unaware that time would take him away from the days of his childhood. Finally, time held him green and dying, making him feel that he sang in his chains like the sea. Thus, time, which is always flying, plays significant roles in the poem. Question 6. Comment on the treatment of light in the Fernhill. Dylan Thomas uses the image of light in Fernhill for significant purposes. The image of light comes time and again in different forms in the poem. The speaker describes the nightly landscape of the farm, night above the jungle starry, the twinkling stars in the dark create a sublime atmosphere matching the joy of the child. Then the rivers of the windfall light is again a reference to the mild light which adds charm to the form befitting the happiness of the boy. There is references to the sunlight in the line, in the sun that is young once only. The line seems to suggest the first light of creation or the morning sun. In both cases, the charm of the light is evident. Here again, the innocent joy of the boy matches well with the charm of the light. The speaker describes the morning. It was all shining, was Adam and maiden. This simple light is an allusion to the light of paradise, suggesting the heavenly pleasure of the boy. There are also uses of moonlight and a shiny golden color, which dwell with the happiness of the boy. So light has been purposefully repeated to suggest the boy's joy. Thank you, viewers, for watching my video.